Well, I came back today. We're going to talk about something today. We're going to talk about envy. Hold on. Let me close this door. Okay. So we're going to talk about envy here. And when we have this discussion, we're going to clear up some things. And hopefully after this conversation, we won't struggle with those issues with envy. There's no reason on this planet why you should envy anybody, because nobody could be you. Remember how I always tell you that? Nobody got the role of you, because nobody could play the role better than you can. So that right alone, that there alone should allow you to walk away from envy. No one could be you. So why would you envy anyone else? And once you have that mindset, and it's not easy to cultivate, it took some time. Like, it's not like as soon as you understand the concept and you're just going to take it on and that's going to be a lifestyle. That's not how it works. But once it does seep in, and once you do realize that, you realize that there is no competition on this planet for you. Your only competition is your previous self, yourself from yesterday. Your only job on this planet is to be who you were yesterday and to be a better person tomorrow than you were today. That's it. And that's why I tell the story of the tortoise and the hare. Because with the tortoise and the hare, if the tortoise would have followed, if the hare would have followed those lessons, the hare would have never lost to the tortoise, right? He lost because his arrogance got in the best of him, and he wasn't in competition with himself. He became in competition with the turtle. And so the fact that he was only looking at the turtle's weaknesses, and he wasn't even looking at his own or ways to improve on his achievements, he lost that race. And we don't have to lose the race. We don't have to go through those same type of experiences. Another thing that I have experienced in my time, whenever someone has gone through an envious situation, it usually points to an insecurity within themselves, right? And I didn't know this at first. Someone had to bring it to my attention about why people were behaving the way they were to me, and how it wasn't anything personal with me. It was more of an intimidation thing. So once I knew and understand that, it made me more confident in my movements. Because at a time, I thought maybe there was something wrong with me and how I was moving and doing things. And I realized that wasn't the case at all. So that encouraged me to further stand in my power and to be who I am today. It gave me that confidence and that push to push past those codependency cycles that I was in and into a place of interdependency that I stand in now. So as we go on this journey, right, there's going to be people who complain about the changes that you are making, and because it's not going to fit in their comfort zone. So they're comfortable with the old you. See, with the old you, they could get away with things. They could, with the old you, they could get away with things. They could do all types of, breaks. I mean, you had no boundaries. The old you had no boundaries. So people took advantage of that. But now that the new you is here, and that those boundaries have been enabled, people will say whatever they can to get you to lower your boundaries, to make you think that the boundaries that you set were somehow wrong, when that's not the case. When people have continuously harmed you, you understand that that person is in a hurtful place. So you step away from them and allow them to grow. That doesn't mean to walk away from them forever, but as they are in that toxic space, by you being there with them, it's not going to benefit. I'm not saying leave them alone where they're all by themselves and going through negative experiences, but I'm saying it in the sense of, like, let's say you have a lifeguard saving a drowning victim. The lifeguard has to maneuver in a way to make sure that the person that's drowning doesn't drown them at the same time. So they will have to move around in a certain fashion to make sure that their head stays above water. You're being urged to do the same thing. And as we are moving forward on our journey of life, and we're removing the need to judge people, and the need to judge ourselves so harshly. Some people judge themselves so harshly, and that's why they can't take criticism. Because the criticism is like the icing on the cake. They already know what they did wrong because it's been instilled. Like a lot of things that we have gone through, the trauma that we've gone through, a lot of times we picked up during childhood. And when it is not addressed during childhood, it spills over into adulthood. And so that's why you have a lot of emotionally immature adults running around. I was one of them. I was mature in a whole lot of other ways. But as far as my emotional maturity, I had to grow in that area. And it required me breaking generational curses of codependency, of staying in toxic relationships, and knowing that you should extricate yourself from those situations. And from experiencing that, I decided that was not going to be my life. It's sort of like the story of the alcoholic dad that has two children. One child decides to be an alcoholic while the other child decides to refrain from it. And both of them made their movements based on what they saw their fathers doing. And same thing like with us. When we see something unsavory, we have the opportunity to either carry on the unsavory activity, or we can stop, put a halt to it, and do what's right, right? So there was a card that popped up earlier. I'm going to pull it here. It was supposed to be read in this reading. I don't know why, but it just came to me now again. So I'm going to read it. All right, let me see if I can find it. I know where it is in the book. Hold on. Where's my book? Here it is. When I read this, it's going to make so much sense to you. Hold on. And it came out earlier for the read, but I didn't put it back in. But now I'm seeing why I didn't, because I'm supposed to bring it up right now. Okay, it says law is not justice. And it was in the other day's podcast I spoke on this. It says, let the jury consider their verdict, the king said for about the 20th time that day. No, no, said the queen. Sentence first, verdict afterwards. The situation Alice finds herself in is patently unfair. No one should be judged, convicted, or served a sentence prior to the evidence being heard. But this is the situation Alice finds herself within. This could be what is taking place in your world. Unfair as it may be, someone wants to judge you before they know you, convict you before they understand your side of the story, and they must certainly have not examined any evidence. Nevertheless, they wish to judge. As Alice so bravely does, you must speak up and say it is unfair and wrong. It is not right for you to be judged, but another person wishes to do so. Unless you speak up, there can be very strong consequences. When you are told to be quiet and to tolerate the judgments being made about you, this card urges you to speak up against injustice and object to what is being said. Your opinion of yourself is what is most valuable. You can state your case clearly with strength and power, and doing so will help you remember just how very strong you are, how very admired you are, how worthwhile and decent you are. You are worthy of respect, fairness, and kindness. If you're being treated poorly, speak up. When you do, so the spell will be broken, and people will see that your side of the story is well worth listening to. Never allow another to steal your self-worth. Someone may have the authority to impose the law, but the law or the rule is ready to be questioned. Following the law, even though it is unjust. Condemnation without knowing the full story. Being judged by people who do not know you or have a biased view. You may be judging people you do not understand. Be sure to have a fuller picture and avoid condemnation and judgment. Be discerning, but be sure to be fair and just. So this right here, it speaks about how don't just do things because other people are doing. If you know something is wrong, it's up to you to state that and move accordingly, right? The reason why the planet is in the current disarray is because we all participated, right? One bad person cannot create everything. They had to have participation. So I want you to ask yourself today, how are you participating in the ills of the world? And how can you participate in healing the world and fixing and righting the wrongs that are going on in the planet? You know, this is very essential because we're at a pivotal moment. We are the ones that's going to decide what happens next. Like, watch Snowpiercer. That's a good movie to explain to you what's going on right now. We're at the end of the line on the train. And right now we're at the reset. But the way that reset looks, it's all up to us. Each and every one of you has an input, because you know the collective consciousness is what creates everything that you see here. So once you go within inside yourself and figure out what your role is on this planet and make sure you're doing it in a way that's not oppressing others, could you imagine what would happen on a global scale? Microcosm, macrocosm, you know? So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about what your goal is. What is your role on this planet? And if you are not effectively living that out, make sure that you tighten up. Because like I said, we're in the end times. People don't understand. This is the Armageddon that your Bible spoke of. It doesn't look like the way we have thought it would be, like the way the Bible made it seem. But at the end of the day, that's what's going on right now. So how do you want your new world order? How do you want your new system of things? There's different terms to describe the same events, but life is what you make it. Literally is what we make it collectively together. So we have to raise our collective consciousness and vibrate higher, because we can't carry on the way it's been. No more revolutions, right? From now on, we're going to be evolutionaries, right? All right? All right. And that's why I have solutionaries that help me out, you know, from time to time, even when I don't get along with them. You know, like my brother Supreme Understanding, we go through it all the time. Ever since we met, we was going back and forth. But at the end of the day, when it comes to being on the front line and taking care of the community and the nation, we put our differences aside and handle up what's in the community and come together for the common good. Personal differences aside, you know, because it's one thing, my love is unconditional, but the distance between us will always have conditions based on the interactions and how our energy is connecting at that moment. But if it's on a negative frequency, I will push a person away until they raise their vibration, and then we could commune again. But when it comes to these babies in this front line, that comes first before anything. And so I don't hold grudges against people when you're doing things for the right reasons, and you know, we move forward. Of course you're going to have disagreements. Not everybody sees things the same way, and some people have to be course corrected, because no one's perfect on this planet. We all mess up. We all make mistakes on this planet, including me. So when we see each other doing that, we got to let each other know, like, yo, this is not how it's going. Boundaries have been set, and you're going to have to meet me on this level of respect, or don't meet me at all. You know, because one thing about me is I'm very loyal and integral, but don't take my loyalty and integrity for granted, and don't take it as a weakness, because you will miss it. All right, my lovelies. I will be back tomorrow to come back on to give you some more insight. Okay. And thanks for tuning in all the way from Jamaica. Jerome.